Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Idiots in the Wild. First up we have Friend Expected Me to Pay for Everything by Designer Process 1295. I just had to cut off an old friend that I rekindled with after I had my son. She has 2 boys. Her and her husband are separated, but still married legally and living together. Recently, we went to a fair where she expected me to pay for everything. Every time we ever went anywhere, I'd pay. The last time we went out, I suggested Applebee's because it's cheaper, and I don't mind paying usually, and she said she was expecting something a little more fancy, as if it was a date. That's what I was thinking. Mind you, I am also happily married. I just laughed it off and we went to Applebee's anyways. Well, recently we go to a fair with our kids for a play date, where never once did I say I was paying, because I'm not a millionaire and I can't afford to take a family of 3 plus me and my son, so really a family of 5, to the fair. We get there and I'm buying the pass for my son and myself, and she said she left her wallet in her car. No big deal. I'll pay, and pay she didn't. And then she can just Venmo me. I pay for all the passes, we go on rides, and we're having fun, and it's time to eat. We get food at the fair, which was extremely expensive, and her kids are just yelling out what they want. And she has absolutely no control over them, so I hurry to order everything, and this girl has the nerve to add hella more food to the order, which comes out to $110, for crying out loud. After we eat, it's getting really hot, our kids are tired, so I ask her, hey, before we leave, can you Venmo me? She looks me dead in the eyes and says she has no money, and that she's broke. Her husband cut her off, basically. And I told her, if you knew that, then why did you suggest the fair, and why did you say you would Venmo me? She said because I don't understand, since me and my husband both have good paying jobs and she's a stay-at-home mom. So it's harder. Make different choices then. I didn't know what to say, and I just said, okay. Put my son in his stroller and got up to leave, and she follows with her kids. As we are leaving, she has the nerve to say she wishes they could go into this escape room not included in the passes. I bought everyone, and keeps looking at me with this, begging face. Honestly, it made me feel disgust, so I said no. We need to go back, it's getting late and my kids need to nap. We both say bye. Same day she's calling and texting, asking for the next hangout, and inviting herself to my house, saying she can come right now with her boys. I say I'll get back to her. Now it's been 4 days, and she calls and texts me every day, which I don't respond to. After I told my husband about everything, and he told me to absolutely cut her off, and that it's trifling, and that she's completely taking advantage of me. Has anyone else ever experienced something like this? Update. I texted her and said exactly how I feel and that she needs to pay me back. She got mad, I ended up blocking her, you'll never see that money, and not responding to her last text. I'm not being cheeky when I say that, I'm speaking from experience. It won't let me upload the screenshot, so I'm just going to copy-paste the messages. Hey, I know you've been texting and calling to hang out and schedule, but honestly, I'm not really interested unless you can pay me back for the other day. I spent a lot of money and you lied to me and told me you Venmo. I feel like you took advantage of me because we were in front of the kids when I asked you to pay me back. I would never do that to you. You're just assuming that we are well off because we both work, when in reality it's because we budget. If you had been straightforward that you didn't have money, I would have brought snacks, and we could have gone to the free splash pad, or the park, or literally anything free. Her response, what do you expect from me? I'm depressed and going through a divorce and have no money. I tell you the truth, and then you use it against me? You're just holding everything you paid for over my head when I never asked you to do that. SMH. Oh, maybe that's it. She was shaking her head so hard, she got delirious, and she actually believed the crap she just said. You literally did ask me to do that. WTF, you said you were going to Venmo me and literally lied to my face, and made sure to wait until after I paid for everything. I get you're depressed, and I'm sorry for what you're going through, but that has no correlation to you lying and waiting until after I paid to guilt-trip me. Her response to that: I have enough going on right now. I really don't need to be dealing with this, honestly. So are you going to pay me back or not? Her response: Not, you don't need me to pay you back. You're doing just fine and you're just a greedy person. It's a tactic you often see in politics where they blame the other side for the things that they're doing. You literally have your husband paying for everything. I'll bet you don't. And you have no idea what it's like to struggle, and I'm struggling so bad right now. We're staying together for the kids, but he doesn't help me with anything, and I never have money. You literally showed up with Starbucks, though. Her response: You're going to be like that and watch all my expenses? Why are you even texting me? I don't want to be friends with someone that's going to hold everything over my head. You're just a greedy person. You think you're better than me and you're not. I mean, I think you're better than them, but you've probably got too much humility to say that. You always look down on people. I never should have told you shit about my marriage because you clearly don't even care. I never responded to her last text and just blocked her. It's so bizarre how these people, they get so caught up in their own bullcrap that they end up pushing away the friends that would have supported them through it in a reasonable manner, instead of using you like an ATM. Alright, story number 2. Does anyone ever really look at people before assuming they work there? By Boneyard Birdie. So this is more of a collection of stories than a single one. Back in my hometown, there is a branch store chain called Job Lot. For those that don't have them, they're a discount warehouse-type store that gets all kinds of good and unusual stuff for decent prices. I spent a lot of time there as a young adult because they had a steady stream of my favorite canvas boards and European chocolate bars. Well, the uniform for Job Lot is just regular clothes, but with a big, bright blue vest and name tag on a lanyard. Obviously, there are limits to the street clothes that employees can wear. Basically just nothing obscene, overly revealing or dirty. Well, I'm a metalhead, and I hadn't yet entered my Adam Sandler phase, so I was usually pretty decked out in leather, chains, spikes, high-heeled leather boots, and band tees. What can I say? I really liked wearing cool outfits. There's this leather vest I bought, and I loved it to pieces. I don't wear a purse, so having a leather vest with huge pockets rocked. I wore that thing everywhere. Well, that put a damn target on my back. Suddenly, housewives, presumably named Susan or Deborah, would just start asking questions while I stared at them dumbfounded. A few times there were exploding heads, blood, and all sorts of NSFW stuff on my shirts, and it did not stop them. I stopped in after being out with a friend one day, and I was in 7-inch platform wedges, a butt-length white wig, excellent, spiked bracers, the vest, spiked choker, Baphomet pendant, and shirt with monsters dismembering people. Classy, I know. I mean, in the right circles. Literally, the outfit you'd think would be the least possible to be mistaken for an employee. Depends on where you work, really. I was wearing earbuds and checking something on the far end of the store. Out of the corner of my eye, I see a middle-aged couple pointing at me. Obviously, I can't hear what they're saying, but it was probably, "Let's ask this woman that definitely works here." Not wanting to deal with it, I walked away, hoping the fact that I was walking in 7-inch platforms and jangled like a TSA agent's worst nightmare would be enough to deter them. It did not. They followed me across this store and down 2 aisles, determined. Finally, I turned around, sick of being tailed, and let them catch up. The wife comes up to me and starts babbling about lawn furniture. She is looking dead straight at me. I'm pretty annoyed at this point, since my feet were starting to hurt, and I just wanted to get my stuff and leave. "I don't work here." "What? Really?" She was not being sarcastic. I looked down at myself, wondering what kind of employees she's used to seeing, and looked back up. Yeah, really. She finally seems to actually look at me and the shirt I'm wearing. The look of horror was almost worth having to trek across the store. She grabbed her hubby, who seemed like he wanted to fall into a hole at this point, and they scurry off. I also have some stories about I'm not a waitress. I'm a chef's apprentice, and I've been in kitchens for almost a decade now. Love it, I do. I refuse to go in the dining room during business hours. I wear a chef's jacket and a nice chef's apron with an adjustable neck, a skull cap, and chef pants. I have rags hanging from my apron strings. Basically, there is no way that I'm anything but kitchen staff. Kitchen staff cannot use the point-of-sale systems. They do not have credentials. They do not need them. The only exceptions being the chef and maybe the sous, depending on the place. One of the places I worked, you had to walk through a section of the dining room to go to the root cellar. My male colleagues could come and go through there with no issues. I had a male dishwasher once have someone try to give him their order, but that was it. I got stopped about 50% of the time. Walking while being girl, I see. Dangerous, dangerous. I reached a point where I refused to leave the kitchen during business hours. My boss was fully on board because he got sick of me being delayed getting back because some guy couldn't comprehend that the woman in the chef jacket and carrying a bucket of onions was not a waitress and could not take his credit card. I mean, you can take it. Doesn't mean you're going to give him it back. Thankfully, since leaving that restaurant, I haven't had to regularly enter a dining room at all, let alone while we had customers in the restaurant. Although a few weeks ago I did need forks for something I was doing. All the waitstaff were busy and the silverware bin in the back of house was empty, so I had to poke into the dining room. Literally barely leave the doorway. Again, chef jacket, chef's apron, kitchen pants, skull cap, rags. No way I'm not kitchen staff. Can you seat us somewhere else? I don't think she's talking to me, so I ignore her. Excuse me, you there. I want another table. I turn around and she's definitely looking at me. Sorry, can't help you. I'm kitchen staff. I'll have a server come help you. And I bolted back inside the kitchen before she can open her mouth because nope. I heard from their server that they were complaining about the server that wouldn't help them and try to claim they worked in the kitchen. I can't with these people. Boobs plus apron does not equal waitstaff. Story number 3. Entitled Neighbor Defends His Spot on a Public Street by 12-String Player. Our next-door neighbor had a visitor yesterday who parked his car across the street while he was here. He's done this many times before. It's a public street, and there was no one else parked there on the street on either side. He was still parked there when the entitled guy, let's call him Guy, it's written Guy, but we'll call him Guy, of the story comes home. Some backstory here. Guy is in his early 20s, and is living in the house of the parents of his high school-aged girlfriend. Predator. He drives a beat-up truck and always has a dirt bike strapped to the back of it, and always parks in front of the girlfriend's parents' house. The girlfriend always parks her SUV behind Guy's truck. This time the visitor is parked in Guy's chosen spot. Oh knows what could possibly be done. Let's count the ways. 1 parks slightly ahead of the usual spot, leaving plenty of room for the parents' driveway and the visitor. 2 park behind the visitor, partially blocking another neighbor's driveway. 3 park farther up or down the street, walking an extra 30 feet or so. 4 park across the street, again walking an extra 30 feet or so. 5 get all pissed off and do something stupid. Guy decides he's going to be a dick and back up as close as he can to the visitor's car. Watching this while it was happening, I was sure that he'd hit the visitor's car. Apparently not, though, as he decides he's not close enough and makes a second run at it. Now that he's close enough, he then gets his girlfriend to move her SUV and park it behind the visitor, blocking him in. Great way to get your tires slashed. The two of them then stand outside a while laughing about it. Eventually, the visitor comes out and sees he's blocked in, and has to have our senior citizen neighbor call over and get these a-hole kids to move their vehicles. I'd have just had them towed. Not shown in the video, about 10 minutes after, they had to let the visitor's car out. Guy comes stomping over to his truck, starts it up, and revs it loudly 4 or 5 times, then peels out while leaving. He eventually came back, but pulled the same revving and peeling out at 6:30 this morning. Because he's so manly. What with his underage girlfriend. Showing the neighborhood who's boss. It's got to be exhausting to be that mad all the time. Story number 4. Laundry room etiquette. Picking my fellow apartment dwellers' brains here with a scenario I have experienced twice now in my 2 years at my apartment building. I live in a complex with 4 different buildings, each with 3 apartments on 3 floors, 12 total in each building. There is 1 laundry room per building with 1 singular washer and dryer in each. Not to mention they are puny and $2 a wash, $2 to dry. I avoid using them when I can, and I do laundry at my parents'. I do a load here and there at the complex, especially on my cleaning days, as I like to multitask and it is easier to get it all done in the building. Last week I went to put a load of towels in and saw the washer was full of clean, damp clothes. Figured I would give the person some time to switch it over. For context, my place is conveniently next door to the laundry room, so I can easily listen and check if laundry is running to see if anyone is in the room. Well, over 2 hours go by. I work full-time and have limited time for chores and admittedly was frustrated. I took the wet clothes and put them in a neat pile on a folding table and placed my clothing into the washer, which is perfectly reasonable. Cycle takes roughly 45 minutes, and I always set my timer to be mindful to check. I go back, clothes still there, untouched, so I proceed to put my clothes in the dryer. That is about an hour. After that, I go to retrieve my clothing from the dryer, and the clean, damp clothes are still exactly where I placed them. I collected my things and went about my night. About 20 minutes later, I hear the laundry room door open and the person begin to huff and puff. Mind you, I washed and dried my load in the time it took for them to come down and even check. Had I not removed their items, I would have waited around 4 hours to do laundry. I get people having things come up and get distracted, may have fallen asleep, that's what alarms are for. But I feel in any shared space it is reasonable that if you made others wait that long, there is a chance your items may be moved. Personally, if I did something like that and left my items in a washer, finished for over 4 hours, I would fully expect someone to set them aside. The last time something like this happened was over a year ago, and the person left their items in the dryer for over 2 hours. So I placed them into what I assume was their basket they left on the folding table, and dried mine that had been holding up the washer for an hour while waiting for them to remove their dried items. Next morning, I peeked into the laundry room and the basket of their clothing was still there. No nasty notes have ever been left to my knowledge, and an email to residents has never been sent reminding them to be mindful of others. Just a few posted disclosures in the laundry room basically saying residents are responsible for their own stuff, and to be fair to other residents when using the washer and dryer. Anyone else have non-attentive washers in their community? Is it reasonable to politely move someone else's items over when a more than generous amount of time has passed to allow them to do it on their own? I mean, absolutely, I think that's perfectly reasonable. You can't just leave clothes, towels, whatever it is, in a washer and dryer when it's a place where you're not the only person using it. If you have them in your own unit, like I'm very fortunate to have my own in my house here, I can leave them in for a couple of hours if I can't be bothered getting up or if I'm busy working or something before I transfer them over. Right now there's a load in the washing machine that I need to put in the dryer. It's been there for about an hour so far. But I can do that because I'm not inconveniencing anyone. So no, you're perfectly reasonable in just picking up their stuff. They might not like the idea that you're picking up their stuff and touching it, but that's really their problem because, as I said, it's their responsibility, and they can very easily set a reminder because most people have smartphones these days, and just set yourself a little reminder. Or an egg timer. Don't even need a smartphone. Okay, on to the next story. Fifth and final story today is... Want to tell you guys about a few times I talked back to assholes that come in 2 minutes before closing time by gay sheriff. So I used to work in a cheese and wine store. Like the first part, not so much the second. Which was quite interesting. My responsibility was to greet customers, show them around, and tell them about the different types of cheeses fit for their needs. All of it. Then cut off a piece and pack it in wax paper. Afterwards, I'd recommend a certain type of wine, or crackers, or whatever, basically just being knowledgeable and accommodating. Everything there was overpriced and bougie as fuck. I'm talking real Italian and French wine. And we actually got cheese from overseas. Real Roquefort, raclette machines, 50k wheels of Parmigiano Reggiano, Gouda aged for 3 years. Whole schmuck. Sounds cool, right? Well, yes. But the catch was that opening and closing took about an hour. All of the cheeses were displayed on wooden stillages. The store itself was air-conditioned and kept cool at all times. So every night we had to put them into a huge fridge and get them back out in the morning, then clean them if they got dry or grew mold. Also washing the floor, plus the tools and cutting desks, taking out the trash, closing the register and whatnot. Opening and closing took a considerable amount of time that, you guessed it, we weren't paid for. Oh, hell no. So we prepped everything before closing. We usually worked 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. By 10:45 p.m. I'd have the cheese in the fridge, and by 10:55 floor would be wet after mopping, door closed with the open sign turned off, because I really wanted to get out of there at 11 and knew I wouldn't get paid for overtime. Even so, many a-holes would open the door and come in despite the shelves being obviously empty. Now that I'm not working there, I want to tell you about the instances when this happened and I clapped back like a huge bitch. Number 1, dude came in at 11:10 p.m. with a pep in his step. I was counting the cash register and he interrupted me. I immediately stop and say, "Sorry, but he interrupts me in a jolly tone. "Hey, you got any bottle openers here?" I stubbornly reply, "We're closed." "Yeah, but do you have bottle openers?" "Even if we did, I wouldn't sell it to you." His expression turned sour, and he left. I walked out at around 11:30 and saw him in front of a nearby bar. He gave me the nastiest stink eye. Just because you're partying doesn't mean I don't have stuff to do. 2. Dude comes in at 10:56. Here I could have actually gotten fired for what I said, because technically it happened before closing. But I'd been working for 12 hours at that point. Unreasonable shift, by the way. And anyways, what kind of service could I provide in 4 minutes? So, he walks in. See how I just skipped by that one? So he walks in and the floor is very, very obviously shiny and wet. You could see it under the lights. I try to stop him politely, but he walks around the whole store leaving dirty shoe marks. Ignores me pointedly, looks at empty shelf, cheeseless, then at me, and without a greeting says in the most entitled tone, "I want cheese." Yes, literally just that freeze, like a child, or like I was a servant. I took a glance at the clock, 10:57, and said, "Well, as you can see, all the shelves are empty, so we have no cheese for you. You can come back tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Again, bitchy tone. Dude walked out, and I later saw him filming the store and shaking his head disapprovingly. He really enraged me with his attitude. I can't explain it, but I could tell he had no respect for me. You don't respect the help? What the devil were you thinking? Number 3. So, we opened at 9 a.m. technically. But like I said, prepping always took some time, and we usually didn't have clients before 11 a.m. anyways, so opening shifts would be chill, except this one time. I get there at 8:50, and a few minutes later a guy comes in to order cheese for a restaurant. That meant he wanted huge portions, like quarter of a whole wheel, and all that before I even had the opportunity to take out the damn cheese and my tools. So I just honestly told him, "You will need to wait." Dude deadass says, "Okay, I'll just stand here and watch." And he literally chose to stand near the entrance with his back to the door, watching everything I was doing. Very intently and pointedly, like staring at my hands. I had no choice in the matter, but I decided to be passive-aggressive at the very least. So what I did afterwards was ignore him in absolute silence and do everything as slowly as I possibly could, until the clock struck 9:05. Then I walk out of the store, pushing past him, fix the store sign, walk back in, and put the fakest, most annoying, bitchy smile you can imagine and say, "Welcome! What can I do for you today?" Like I saw him for the first time. I did that so theatrically that the guy actually laughed a little in offended disbelief. He never came back. Instead, sent a different worker from the same restaurant, and from then on, they'd do it in the evening. So I imagine my angry attitude came through. Memo received. Ha. There were a few other times I acted impolitely, like once someone really, really wanted to know the manufacturer of a certain cheese, and I couldn't find it anywhere. But they kept pestering me. So I looked at them like they were a child and said, "Is this actually that important to you?" She turned around and walked out. So no then. Don't get me wrong. I also have many cool stories. I had regulars that adored me and even tipped me. Getting tips in a retail job. That almost never happens. I think I had it happen twice in almost 15 years. I usually just politely said we're not allowed to accept tips. But what kills me, each time thinking back on it, is this wasn't the type of service you'd require as a necessity, like a grocery store. Are you trying to imply that cheese isn't a necessity? I must respectfully disagree. It was more like something you'd get for a snack, or a charcuterie board. So, why the fuck would you need it first thing in the morning, or at 11 p.m.? Are you going to die without that aged Gouda in Parmesan or something? Anyways, that's it. I've got many more stories, though. That job is so nostalgic and unique in my memories. Let me know if you want to hear them. Ugh, I can't imagine thinking back in my time in retail with fondness. More of a shuddering dread, preferring the hangman's noose to returning. Sorry, went a bit dark there. That's the end of today's video. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by signing up for my Patreon page. There's a link to that in the description. $1 or more a month, whichever you feel comfortable supporting, gets you early access to the videos on Monday. There is also a link to my merchandise store on Teespring, as well as my Discord, and I think there's a Threads link as well. And if you need to contact me for any reason, if you want to send in a story, you want a shout out, or you have business inquiries, that's kingofthecities@gmail.com. That's also down in the description. That's everything for now. Oh wait, no. I'm not done. There is a birthday shout out to do. This should be going up on the 8th. I also can't remember if I did Gloria's shout out, which was meant to be earlier in October. I know I was busy with my last book gig at that time. Okay. Well, today's birthday shout out goes to Gloria's husband, George Charles. I really can't remember if I did your shout out or not, Gloria, so if I didn't, a very happy birthday to you. We're going to make this a twofer. I hope you had a great time, and I'm very sorry it's over a month late if I forgot. But I hope you had a great birthday, and I hope that your husband, George, is having an amazing birthday as well. Before we go today, and the mic's probably not picking it up if the noise gate's working, but bloody fireworks going off outside. It's Halloween. It's not even bonfire night. But before we go, I'd like to sing happy birthday to you both. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gloria. Dear George Charles. Happy birthday to you. And I hope you have a great time celebrating together. Eat an extra slice of cake from me. And that brings us to the end of today's video. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves. Bye bye.